The following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
Have you ever wanted to make a reasonably large income completely off the backs of people who are kinda dumb? I mean, after all, money is tied to reason. If you can't think reasonably, you will be separated from your money, right? So why not be the person that does the separating? Well, in today's video, I'll teach you in 5 easy steps how you can use pseudoscience and woo to separate intellectually stunted individuals from their hard-earned cash. Then we'll take a look at a few clips to see this finely tuned art in practice.
5.
Books. Now, you might think written content is a thing of the past. Well, you would be wrong. Books are still a very viable way to screw people out of their money, particularly when it comes to woo-tards. These individuals are not exactly blessed with an overabundance of common sense, and in many cases, they know this. So in an attempt to fake it until they make it, they snap up a book and dive in. They may not become any more intelligent, but they might look like it. So if you're so inclined, writing a book of woo is more than reasonable means to separate a woo-tard from their lunch money. And ultimately, you don't even have to be a good writer. You can always have it ghosted, or in more extreme cases, just rip off someone else's book structure.
4.
YouTube. Another area of media that is no foreigner to woology is YouTube. And let me tell you, there is no shortage of morons on this platform eager to lap up your woo rambling. And not only do you have a massive pool of potential woo-tards to pull from, but they also get to consume your, content for free, without hurting your bottom dollar. Thanks to video advertising, you'll get paid for every ad view, and best of all, you don't really have to worry about demonetization because YouTube favors positivity. It doesn't matter if you're telling a schizophrenic that they can be cured by rubbing some peppermint oil on his ass and popping some pineal gland activator pills. Also, there's a sponsorship deal right there. As long as you do it with a smile and a cheery voice and come off like you're promoting health and positivity. Meanwhile, channels who focus on rational thinking and use reason to tell you what you actually are, and that would be a crook, con artist, say things like, no, you can't cure mental illness by thinking happy thoughts. You actually need to see a professional and take your actual medication. Well, those kind of channels will be demonetized and ushered off the suggested videos list.
3.
Social media. Your social media presence is very important once you decide to go down this path of nonsense and thievery. You will need a way to promote your books, and your videos, and your testosterone pills, and your psychic readings, and all of your other woo. And social media is the place to make that happen. And places like Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, these are all platforms with an absolutely massive amount of consumers, most of which are completely inept and willing to buy literally anything you're trying to sell. You don't believe me? Well, here's a way to test it. Write up a short piece about how, I don't know, sprinkling a bit of dihydrogen monoxide in with your evening tea, and maybe say a spoonful of disaccharide into your breakfast cereal, and then all of a sudden your ability to remember things and your overall energy levels and your life happiness went up dramatically. Try it. See what kind of response you get. See if people have any idea that you just referred to water and sugar. See if they agree. See if they have their own random cures. Woo-tards love that nonsense. They eat it up. So hit up social media harder than Trump.
2.
Talks. Now that you have a firm standing in the woo-tard community, once your fruity made-up name starts getting some traction, and your books are selling, your videos are getting views, and your coveted friends count on social media has soared, you can then use public speaking events as a force multiplier for your income. There are woo gurus who make between $30,000 and $100,000 per event just talking woology to a room full of woo-tards. And it also acts as a means of self-promotion. You're able to sell your books, your diet pills, your personal massagers, all of your other things, while getting paid to self-promote. Doing seminars and talks, it's really the end of the line for the woologist. I mean, once you hit that threshold, you will have pretty much mastered your empire of nonsense. Your income will be unimaginable. And to get there, all you had to do was throw out your self-respect and human decency, and tell a bunch of fantasy nonsense to people who in many cases need anything but.
1.
And lastly, you'll want to combine all of these steps into one massive empire of nonsense. Tackling just one corner of the battlefield will earn you a check, but it won't win you the war against reason, and you won't become that Wootard superstar. You must combine these steps into a master plan, and then you can deftly scoop from one dimwit to the next, smile and take their cash. Provide them with nothing, all while convincing them you just saved their lives. This path to greatness is not an easy one, particularly if you're a person with morals, or if you have a hard time telling nonsense lies. But if you can overcome that hurdle, you'll soon be living in a massive home on some hippie island, snorting coke and reading countless fan mail about how your memory-boosting, whacker-enlarging supplement miraculously cured some chick's breast cancer. So, now that we've discussed the means to greatness, let's take a moment and look at some of the professionals in action and see these finely tuned shit spinners in their natural environment.
Mental illness is always the result of you thinking thoughts which vibrate at a frequency that is very low. So that is the cause of every single mental illness. It has nothing to do with the brain itself. The brain is just a translator. So if you're thinking thoughts which feel negative, therefore they're vibrating at a low frequency, then that educates your brain to wire itself differently, and so it's not releasing the same chemicals as it would in somebody's mind who is thinking positive thoughts.
First up, we have this fine example of a woologist. She's well on her way to becoming a superstar within the Wootard Pantheon. She does it all. She sells books, she does seminars, she has a YouTube channel with something like 500 videos, she has a multitude of subscribers. We see her using a time-honored tactic here in order to connect with her potential lemmings, to take a subject that's really quite hard for the layman to truly understand or grasp, that being schizophrenia, and then of course mental illness in general, and then use some sort of silly woo thing to explain it, using words that make perfect sense to someone who is susceptible to woo, like vibrations.
Here we go with something like schizophrenia. I'll explain exactly what happens with schizophrenia. So this person is so focused negatively and usually not aware of it because we are raised to ignore the way we feel. We maybe cry when we're 3 years old about something and our parents say, "Stop crying, that was really nothing much," you know?
Again, another good use of the tactic. Take something like schizophrenia that's generally pretty hard for the average person to kind of grasp and understand, and then proceed to not do what you say you're going to do, and that's explain schizophrenia, but actually just ramble for approximately 10 minutes, using other keywords that your viewers can identify with. As long as you just kind of say you're going to do that, and then just, veer off onto some tangent talking about energy levels and vibrations and your inner and your outer being and so on and so forth, they'll soon forget that you ever mentioned anything about explaining something like a clinical illness, and just latch on to the fact that you're now talking about woo, and they love woo, so they're gonna pay for it.
Think of holding the same frequency like this. So this is your eternal self, and this is your physical self. Now the energy is flowing through my eternal self into my physical self all day, every day. Now when and we're a vibrational match, but when I think thoughts that feel negative to me, that's my indication that I'm not matching the frequency, I'm off center of the frequency. Now look at how much less energy can flow from one to the next.
Okay, now before you can say anything, let's just ignore that none of that made any sense whatsoever. Because you're not selling your product to people who can think rationally. You're selling your product to wootards. They can't think rationally. So, while to normal people what you just saw on this screen right here may have you scratching your head, but to a wootard, they totally get it. It totally makes sense to them. So you can really get away with a lot selling your product to the wootard community.
It's curable if a person who is in the position of being schizophrenic, sorry, labels drive me nuts, but if a person who's in that standpoint is willing to start incrementally caring how they feel and working their way into better feeling thoughts.
Another thing I should point out real quick, everything is curable in the wootard community. Literally anything you can think of, tell them you can cure it, they will buy it. Can you cure schizophrenia? Of course you can't cure it. There is no cure. Can be treated, cannot be cured. But your fans don't know that. They think anything you say is golden. Literally anything. AIDS, you can cure it. Death, probably cure that too. Here you have a case of some top-notch woo pulled directly off the web. Now, not only is this clearly bullshit to basically anybody with a brain, but it also promotes a very unhealthy activity, which is staring at the sun. So what you're doing here is you're not only taking money from your clinically dumb viewers, you're also causing them physical harm in that you're damaging their eyes by suggesting they stare at the sun. And if at any point in your article you're able to reference this man, do it. Wootards love this man. He is the pinnacle of wootardology. And lastly, I guess since I talked about books earlier, I should show a couple and express how easy it is for you to get not only published, but get your book into a market. Amazon will sell literally anything. You could take a piece of paper, wipe your butt with it, put a binding on it, and Amazon will sell it for you. Alright, I guess that's about it. For the end of the video, this bit here, I'm making a follow-up video for this because there's something I wanted to talk about and I didn't want to soil this video with it. So click right here to see the follow-up for this video. Later, guys.